You ready? Spring break's only 3 days away, but none of you all are going to be traveling. So for today's show, we're going to talk with Miss Piwowar about some of her favorite travels, as well as the usual recommendations. I had a great time talking with Miss Piwowar in her travel room, so stick around, enjoy this interview. All right. Did you hear that tap?
Mm-hmm.
Great. Welcome, everybody. We are here today with Miss Piwowar. Miss Piwowar, why don't you introduce yourself from this very blue room?
Hi, everybody. As Mr. Buse said, I'm Ms. Piwowar. This is my travel room, I guess you could say, my little office at my house. That's where I'm coming to you from.
What do you mean by it's a travel room?
Yeah, so I have kind of a theme for every room in my house for the decorations. So this one has, I'll give you a little tour. I have this map here that I made.
Oh.
So this was kind of found a wood slab out in the alley somewhere. And then I projected a world map onto it and traced it and then painted the world map. And then each of those photos are photos that I took in my journeys. So I have one for every country I've been to. And then I played with the photos on Photoshop to kind of enhance some of the colors and whatnot, and then pasted them there. So that's one thing. I have, a little globe. But then also some of the artwork I have is from my travels. So like that's from when I went to Mexico City last year. I've got, if you can see if we can get up there. And then I have another one on the other side of the room is when I went to South Africa. We went on this jazz tour where we went to a couple people's homes and or jazz performances. And then one of these gentlemen was also an artist and he showed us some of his work. I've also just got little knickknacks. This is from South Africa too, this little giraffe. I've got this little clock from Prague.
Ooh.
Clock tower there.
Is that on the inside? Is that some hand carved?
Yeah, so this is carved wood and then there's like a painting on the inside.
And I can confirm, actually, nope, you're about 30 minutes off. Is that Prague time?
No, it needs a new battery. There's no time. The time isn't correct, or just for decoration. And I lived in California for a couple of years, so there's my California license plate somewhere.
Oh, yep.
From it. And then I've got a couple other photos. That wood print. You can't really see it that well. But that's, I made that's Echo Park in Los Angeles. I took the photo and then transferred it to the wood. And then there's a CTA photo kind of to represent my two homes, like when I lived in LA and then Chicago. Yeah, oh, and I guess the last travel related thing, this, let's see if we can go back so you can see it, that file, but my arm's in the way. This is, this file cabinet, it was just black, and so I put some maps on it. Oops, that's the chair.
That's a sweet chair too.
Oh yeah, well, this I got, this place, the Rebuilding Exchange, they sell all kinds of things that they've recovered from homes. So if you want to do your own projects, you can buy stuff there. They have tubs and counters and things like that. But that chair was there for only $5.
Wow. And it was already upholstered like that?
Yeah.
That sweet pattern?
Yep.
Cool. How long have you been adding things to this room? This looks like, unless you consider traveling to Lake County travel, looks like you've done about as much traveling in this room as I've done in my life.
Yeah, so well, I lived in this house for like 2.5 years, so the room's been coming together since that time. But I mean, I've been traveling and collecting some of these things. My first time I left the country was when I studied abroad in Ecuador, and that was when I was a junior in college. That was in 2010, so 10 years ago. Actually, 10 years ago today, I would have been there.
Hey,
So for 10 years, I've begun my international travels.
10 years. And how many places have you visited in those 10 years? In
I've been,
terms of countries, or
yeah,
and we'll
yeah.
consider, I think we can consider the East Coast and West Coast and the South of the United States different countries too. And we'll let Texas be its own country. They'd love
I
that.
think I think I've been to 14 non-US countries, and then I've been to like 28 or 30 states in the United States.
So 14 in the past 10 years.
The countries is the past 10 years, and then the states when I was a kid. So my dad didn't really like spend money on like having cable TV or like buying new things for us, but every summer we would go on a family vacation, and those were all in the United States. So that was like the beginning of my interest and joy for travel. So a lot of the states were through some of those family vacations.
Okay. And so this is in 100% honesty. One of the biggest differences between me and my wife, for example, is she loves to travel. She loves visiting places. I'm very much well, we've got cool things to see in Chicago, or we could go down to St. Louis, or hey, Milwaukee's not far. So what is it about international travel?
Mm,
What draws you that? Especially maybe students are watching. They're thinking,
yeah,
hey, why do I want to go to? Why would I want to go to South Africa? Why would I want to go? There's plenty
sure.
to see here. What is it that
So
drew you to international travel?
yeah, so I'd say yes, there's a lot to see here, but you can't see everything here. So for one, like the natural beauty of a lot of these places is unbelievable. Like when I was in Ecuador, I went to the Galapagos Islands, which has animals there that you can't find anywhere else in the world. The Amazon rainforest is there. It's in the mountains. We don't have mountains in the Midwest. There's a coast there, so it's like pretty much every kind of natural phenomenon you could want to see is there. When I was in South Africa, we went on a safari, which they call a game drive there. So you're seeing like giraffes, elephants, lions, just as they live in the wild. And you can see those animals at the zoo, but there's something to be said about seeing them just roaming around the way that they were intended to be. And, a giraffe like reaching up to eat a leaf off of a tree and then continuing on its walk. I think for some of the places I've been in Europe, is a lot older than the United States in terms of like constructed spaces. So some of the buildings, like I went to Greece this last summer, and to see like, some of those ruins they were originally constructed in, thousands of years ago. And to imagine like there were people here walking around in this marketplace, and to like envision what that was like, that's something you can't experience here.
Right. Here, if someone's house was built in 1920, we
Yeah,
slap a historic seal on it.
right. I think the other thing I'll say is depending on where you go and like what you're accustomed to, like experiencing a different culture can be really enriching too. Like when I went to Ecuador, I lived there for 5 months. And so like I just, obviously like people are people everywhere, but there's something about the culture there. It's like there's a richness to it, and like personal relationships are really valued. And I feel like I learned a lot from that as well. And just being around people that kind of view the world in a slightly different way and kind of experience life in a slightly different way.
And so do you feel like when you went to Ecuador, when you came back, did you, when you're experiencing people living in a slightly different way, does that slide into how you're experiencing life, or how you kind of live your life after that?
Yeah. So I think one thing from there is that, like I said, people really value relationships there. So taking the time to recognize that like connection with others is important, and that, doing stuff isn't really always important if you're with somebody else. And I think I had another thought too. I don't remember what it was, but yeah, it definitely influences the way that I look at the world, and also the way I understand others, that other people, if, they may not, sometimes you have frustrations with people, and it's because of like, kind of just underlying differences of the way you go about your life.
Mm-hmm.
And that can help you to empathize with others. Be like, well, you know what? They just do things and think about things a little bit differently than me, and that's fine.
Right. There doesn't need to be a conflict here.
Mm-hmm.
Just because we take different processes, often
Mm-hmm.
get to the same ends. So,
Mm-hmm.
if a student, let's say students like, oh, I want to go see the most amazing natural site that Miss Piwowar has ever seen, where would you tell them to start saving up to go?
Now I'm like looking at my little map here. Well, a close by one, relatively close, I'd say Niagara Falls. And I mean, you wouldn't need a passport to see that. That's amazing. Like just the water and the power of that. But I'd say, I mean, Ecuador was a really beautiful country, because they have everything you could want to see. I went a couple of spring breaks ago with the Shaf, actually, to Scandinavia, and we also included Estonia in that trip. And we went to, there were some cliffs there that were really beautiful. There's like cliffs and the water right next to it, and the water was just so blue, and there weren't a lot of people there. And kind of just the feeling of like the wind in this like lonely place was really incredible. Yeah, go ahead. I was
oh, go ahead.
Greece last summer was really beautiful. We went to a couple of islands, and like to be in the Mediterranean, like the water was so perfect. It was like you were in like this bath that you never wanted to leave, and yeah.
On the flip side of that, what's the coolest human-made thing that you've seen while traveling, or like the best city you've been to?
Well, Chicago is obviously the best city.
Hey, 312/773.
Yeah.
/606. That's not an area code. Okay, sorry.
Human-made thing. Well, so I went to Barcelona, and Gaudí is a famous architect, and I thought a lot of his work was really cool because it's very different and unique. Gaudi, for anyone that wants to look him up. And he worked, I think, in the early 1900s. And I mean, obviously then his work was still very like creative and forward thinking, and looking at it now, it still has that feeling of like being on the edge and being really unique. And I think that that's really interesting, that someone's work could transcend all time and always be, something that is different from what people are thinking and doing.
Right. So you're saying at the time it was different and forward thinking. Is that, well, I guess forward thinking wouldn't even be the right word though, because you're saying it's created, and it's not like everybody does this or is able to do this 100 years from now. It cements its place.
Yeah, and it still has that feeling of being like really unique and really creative and not dated at all. Like, oh, it's from that time. It looks like it could still be from the future.
That's a good, it could still be from the future. So you're stuck in this travel room. You're not necessarily as stuck as, I mean, like Mr. Barnett's kitchen looked a lot sadder than your travel room. No offense, Mr. Barnett. So are you doing any planning for once you're able to get out of the blue room?
I don't know. I think one destination I'd like to go to next is Maine.
Maine, like Maine, the state Maine.
Maine, the state, yeah. Just looking at like the natural, because I've seen a lot of cities in the U.S. and around the world, and so I'm starting to kind of develop a little bit more of appreciation for kind of the non-city travel. And so just being like along the coast and all the lighthouses, I think look really cool. I think that would be a cool trip. And then I was also thinking about, so the last couple of international trips I've done have been to Europe. So I'd like to go somewhere else in Africa, maybe like Morocco or Kenya or Egypt. And then maybe South America again, because Ecuador was, I was 10 years ago. I have been to Guatemala and Mexico, but that's more central. So somewhere else like Chile or Argentina or something, I think would be really nice too.
So yeah, and you teach entirely contemporary American history, right?
I have 2 contemporary Americans. I have the gender studies class.
Right. Oh, right.
2 senior seminars this year.
But in terms of history, you're
Oh yeah.
completely.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone said, "Hey, Miss Piwowar, you have a year to develop a class on the history of any place or anything, and you'll teach it 2 years from now, and we're gonna give you $10,000 to travel and study."
Ooh.
Where do you travel to? What do you study? What does your class become?
Well, so I kind of, in terms of history, I like more of like the modern stuff, like 1900s to the present, because you can see more of the impacts of like people's decisions and policy and whatnot into the way our world is today. So I don't know, that's a tough question. I don't really have an answer to that. I know Miss Scarberry kind of did that. She went to Hungary and a few other countries and was investigating immigration policy and kind of what immigration is like in these countries, and obviously people immigrating from different places to those countries, which I thought was really fascinating. I think it might be interesting to look at, like, I mean, here, like a really big thing in politics now is like the role of government and social safety nets, and what should the government be providing for the people versus what is your own responsibility to provide for yourself. So I think it might be interesting in that regard to visit maybe some places. I have been to Denmark and other Scandinavian countries, but more investigate like how that contributes to people's well-being, but then also go to some places where the government has like either no role or like limited capacity to provide social safety nets for people, and see how that, what are other things that people do to fill those gaps in the quality of life there, and maybe look at kind of from like a, I guess, government, economic, sociological perspective.
So you're gonna need more than $10,000.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You're gonna need a year and like 150,000.
Oh yeah,
150,000. That might be a lot, but you can buy some nice cameras with it.
Yeah, maybe like a whole fleet of researchers to help me with this project. Maybe I'll just be the director. Hey, this is the question I have. Can you come back to me with an answer?
Yeah. And then let's, in a simpler way, let's say the summer break, you win a prize, and they say you've got 2 weeks to go to any country, and we're just gonna put you up with a elderly person who is excellent at cooking this culture's cuisine. Mm-hmm. And you're just gonna soak in everything you can about the basics of cooking and food in this culture. Let's say you got a month.
Okay.
So where are you choosing? And you can't globe hop like with the last one. You can't be like, well, I'm gonna go to Denmark, then I'm gonna go to. So you got to go to one place to learn how to cook like they cook.
Maybe Thailand, because I really like Thai food, but I don't know how to cook it at all. And I'm sure that the Thai food we eat here is like a very limited sampling of what's possible. So I think that would be my choice. Also, and it looks really beautiful. So
yeah. And I feel like people often are like, oh, I'm going to like make this kind of sloppy interpretation of, I don't know, French food, Italian food, Korean food. I don't think anybody's ever been like, hey, I'm going to make you some Thai food who didn't actually have experience cooking Thai food.
Yeah.
So that'd be a good one. Great. So everybody wants to know what people are reading, what people are watching, what people are listening to.
Sure.
What are you reading? What do you recommend to listen to?
I'll go get the book real quick.
Awesome.
See the cover. So I'm actually reading 2 things. One is Ta-Nehisi Coates' We Were 8 Years in Power. So it's a collection of 8 of his essays that he wrote for The Atlantic, and each one is coupled with a new kind of introductory chapter that frames the Atlantic article as well as kind of the context of what was happening. The 8 Years in Power refers to the 8 years of the Obama presidency.
So these are all essays from 2008 to 2016?
The ones that precede the Atlantic articles are. I'm not sure when each of the Atlantic. I don't know what his time with the Atlantic was. So that's really. I mean, he's a very prolific writer, very intellectual, very thought-provoking, writing a lot of commentary on race in the modern America.
Right. I think sophomores read Between the World and Me.
Yeah, I haven't read that one, but it's the same author. So, but that requires a little bit of brain power to dive in when I'm a little bit more lazy, or like, oh, it's about time to go to bed. Like, but I want to read a little bit. My dad got me a Kindle for Christmas, and he loaded the Kindle up with some of these. The last time I was there, with a few books. There's this author, Sue Grafton, who does mysteries. The first one is A is for alibi, B is for burglar, C is for, D is for, etc. She got all the way through Y, and then she died. And she was working on the Z book, but she never completed it. So I'm on B is for burglar, and the primary detective in all of them is this like 30-year-old woman, Kinsey Mulhone, or she's a private investigator, and people hire her, and people are missing, or there's murders or things like that, and they all kind of have a dark twist to them.
How quickly? I mean, do these go down easily? I mean, do you just fly through them?
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty simple, and you kind of, once you get into the gist of what's happening, then the last 100 pages or so, she's really getting into like, oh my God, someone's on her trail, or she's hot on the trail of what's going to happen, and then it's nighttime, and maybe someone's going to come and get her, and these kinds of things.
Right.
And so you can really turn the pages on those pretty fast.
So if students want something, if they're like, oh, I miss reading all these documents and great readings from Miss Piwowar's class, 8 Years in Power. You're like, right now I want to kind of like zone out, just get a good mystery in A through Y of the Sue Grafton series. Yeah,
they're pretty. I don't know if I would have liked them as much as a teenager. They're still good. I'm just trying to put myself in like because I've always liked mysteries, and when I was a teen, trying to think of what mysteries I read, I can't even remember. Probably like them. I don't think there's any reason they wouldn't.
What was the one in the hotel?
The one in the hotel.
More
specific?
No, I don't have it more specific. I read it. I think I read
Mystery in a hotel.
7th grade. It's in a hotel, and then the rest of it is the same. Someone's dead, and they're like, "Who did this?"
Sure.
Did you see Knives Out?
No.
Oh. Well, you need to see Knives Out if you like mysteries.
I don't. I've never even heard of this.
Knives Out.
No. What?
Go watch Knives Out. That's my recommendation.
It's a movie or what?
It's a movie with Daniel Craig plays an investigator. It's a star-studded cast. Oh, it's fantastic.
I'll have to check it out.
I shouldn't say it's fantastic. I'd give it 4 out of 5 stars. Maybe even 3.5.
Okay. Worth the time though.
Michael Shannon's character in it was the inspiration for my goatee.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
He's not a good character in it. Like he's a bad person. But I was like, that's a good quarantine look. It's like it's like I'm not going to be able to rock this outside of the walls.
Well, I mean, maybe. I don't see why not. Lots of people have goatees.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, what are you listening to? What are you watching?
On Netflix, I've been watching Mad Men. Which for those that aren't familiar, it takes place in the 60s, and it's about Don Draper, who works for an ad agency, and the kind of all of that. I really like it because from what I've read and heard, it's actually, the visuals of it are very accurate to the time. And so it's like kind of you're stepping back into this. Starts, I think, in like 63 or 62, and the last season is 69. And they also kind of touch on some historical events like the Kennedy assassination, MLK assassination, the moon landing. And it also is really interesting because you see like the gender dynamics and like the casual racism that comes in. And it's like, oh, wow, if this is accurate to the times, like in a lot of ways we've, there's a lot of stuff to improve, but we've come pretty far.
Yeah, that question was kind of on the tip of my tongue, which was, you teach the gender and women's studies class, when you're watching Mad Men, is that part of your brain kind of churning over the show the whole time?
Yeah, a little bit. And just even not even in terms of content for the class, but just observations of things we've talked about and like, the ways that, sexism or discrimination can be obvious, but also the ways it can be subtle and like people can be pushed out of something. And it's like a feeling that you don't belong rather than an actual, oh, you don't belong.
Right. And I haven't seen Mad Men, but from what I know about it, it's a good look at maybe systemic issues too. Just in terms of like, oh, you realize how broad and wide this is.
Yeah, and how pervasive it is. And it's like, this is what people believe to be the way that, they are, none of them are like necessarily bad people, but it's just they're products of the time. And you can see like how ingrained that these norms and ideas can be.
Yeah, great. And then what are you listening to?
Let's see.
Or what's one
sure.
track that you would recommend to students?
Well, I don't know. I usually put Spotify, the like made for you playlist, and like see what comes up. I'm trying to think of an artist I've been listening to a lot lately is the A La Las. They're kind of like a surf rock 60s kind of vibe band that I really like. And I have been playing some guitar too. And so I was actually something fun I was doing was on GarageBand. Like I learned the guitar track for one of the songs that had no vocals, and I like played the guitar myself into GarageBand, and then you can play the bass line and then like make the guitar sound lower so it sounds like a bass, and then I programmed the drums in. So I had like the whole intro of the song, but it was like my own cover of doing it instead of them.
How much guitar do you play? Are you like a beginning guitar?
I'd say more than a beginner, but not advanced, intermediate perhaps.
Right. But maybe by the time we leave our houses, late intermediate, early advanced?
Maybe. One thing I'm working on right now is the solo from AC/DC, Shook Me All Night Long. It's pretty challenging, but I'm getting there. It's a good one.
It's awesome. Great. Okay. So we have we'll do this or that first, then we'll end with a little ask math questions.
Okay, cool.
I'm going to do this or that. Just you right off the top of your head. Give me your answer. So first one, Crocs or flip-flops?
Flip-flops.
October or April?
October.
First period off or eighth period off?
First period off.
1950s or 1970s?
70s.
Okay. Trapezoids or rhombuses?
Trapezoids.
I agree. That's like a weirdly specific one where I'm like, how could you say rhombuses? Cats or dogs?
I'm allergic to both, so neither.
Oh, you gotta choose one. I don't make the rules, I just enforce them.
Dogs, because they can live outside.
There you go.
Well, I guess cats too. There's alley cats around my neighborhood. Anyway.
Yeah, but alley cats aren't your cats.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's
I
true.
guess like a dog that lives outside in a dog yard, or if you live in the country and the dog lives outside, it's still your dog. But as soon as a cat's an outdoor cat, it's the world's cat.
Yeah.
True. Illinois or California?
California, I guess.
Dessert or seconds?
Dessert.
Okay. Last one. Oh, where'd it go? I guess I'll odd numbers or even numbers?
Odd.
Okay. So on that note, we're going to do a little bit of Ask Math today.
Okay.
And,
do I need a pen or pencil?
Well, yeah, we're going to, sure. It depends. I mean, I guess it's always good to show your work. Okay, so we have a triangle on the screen. Now, for everybody saying history teachers can't do math, you're going to have that confirmed or denied here. So, I guess let's find X and Y.
Okay. This looks awesome. So should I think out loud as I'm?
Yeah, I think thinking out loud's good.
Okay.
Unless you have your Elmo, at home with you.
I do not. I think I left that in the classroom. I only grabbed the most essential supplies, but okay. So a triangle, the angles equal 180. Yes.
I believe so.
Okay. So first I would figure out the one that is, I don't know what the word is, but like where it's adjacent to y, because then you can figure out what y is. So I'm going to do 180 minus, let me just use my calculator. 180 minus, right? Is it 180? Can I look?
I think 180 sounds right. I mean, that's one of the big angles, right? Yeah.
I'm gonna look that up. I'm gonna phone a friend on that. Yeah, 180. Okay, I was right. So 180 minus 26 minus 26 equals 128. So that one that's unnamed in the bottom triangle, that angle is 128. So then if we're looking at y, a straight line is 180. So 180 minus the unnamed angle, which we know is 128, equals 52. So y is 52, which makes sense because it's an acute angle, less than 90 degrees.
Good visuals there. Oh, look at this whiteboard.
Nice. So now we have two of the angles for the remaining triangle, and we know all three of them equal 180. So 180 minus 64 minus y, which we now know is 52, means that x is 64. Is that right?
I don't know.
You don't have the answers there?
I pulled it off of Google. I didn't even think ahead that far. Pulled it off of Google Images. Let me, well, here's what we'll do.
Can you click on the image and see if it goes to analyzemath.com?
Oh, wait. Oh, I can't stop drawing on the screen. Well, so give us your final numbers again. I'll write them down.
Y is 52 degrees and
okay, Y is 52.
64. And actually that would make sense too, because that one looks like, what do they call it when two of the angles, isosceles, when two of the angles are the same and the other is different?
Yes.
X and 64 look to be about, they look to be about the same size.
Yeah, and I guess we can check it because 64 plus 26 is 86, and then 64 plus 26 is, wait, hold on.
64 and 26 is 90. The right angle there.
64 and 20, that's what I said. Yeah, 90. No, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I heard you say. I was just repeating it.
Thank you. So 90 plus 64 plus 26. Yeah, right, 180. Because you can do the whole triangle.
Oh, yeah, the whole triangle. Yeah, that's a good point too.
Okay, maybe we have time for one more quick one.
Okay.
Whoa, that doesn't stop sharing the drawing. Okay. How about that one? Where'd it go? Okay, what's this question?
I see a circle.
Okay.
Okay, here's pretty.
So we're supposed to figure out, so OC is 5 inches long and CD is 1 inch long. So we need to figure out what AC is.
Ooh, this one might be a bit trickier. So let me read the bottom. Pretty geometric puzzle that's easier than it looks. Center is O, the angle AOC is 90 degrees. The AB is parallel to OD. The segment is OC side. Okay, so determine the length of, okay, well, I'm not sure. I don't think I'm going to be able to figure this one out right away, but I imagine it has something to do with, you can figure out, oh, no, never mind. Something with, I don't know. I'd need some, this one. You could probably figure out AO from AC somehow. One is probably a key, but I don't really know why or how.
I don't know. This was also on my quick Google image search.
I'm glad you didn't give this one to me first, because I would have been totally lost.
It's got this great title up front, The World's Best Geometry Puzzle.
Yeah, I'd need some clues on this one because it's been like 15 years more since I was in geometry class. So.
Well, I'll send you this link, and then if you come up with an answer.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'll let you know.
Yeah. All right. Ms. Piwowar, thank you for coming on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for giving a tour of your room. That is also a glimpse of the world. All right. See you later.
Bye. Take care.
Hold on. I'm going to stop recording.
Ready.
Wow. Thanks. I can't wait to travel all those places one day. For now, keep on reading, keep writing, get ready for that e-learning. Enjoy your spring break and stay safe out there. Signing off for now, this is Mr. Buse.